Hello, LAWsome listeners. Matt and I just came off of a wonderful conversation with the very own Darryl Isaacs, the Hammer. Uh, Born and built a business out of Kentucky and has continued to expand a wildly successful PI practice. But this is really unique discussion in that I'm just totally in awe. I'll tell you that. I think Darryl has been one of these. I'll call him, a lawyer celebrity. Right? He's invested heavily in TV advertising and radio. He talks about his Yellow Pages history and how much money he has poured into marketing and his personal brand. But what's really fascinating is simply his approach to it, his authenticity, his willingness to be vulnerable, to show humility. These are characteristics that you really don't commonly see in this industry. It takes for a wildly successful entrepreneur, trial lawyer, marketing attorney. It takes a certain level of ego and confidence. But Darryl takes a very different approach. What did you hear in that discussion, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head there, Tanner. And those are the two words that I had written down: authenticity and vulnerability. And you'll hear that those two topics, intentionally or otherwise, are woven throughout the entire discussion. We cover a lot of different topics in this conversation, from creating video, television advertising, hiring executives. Lots of great takeaways for our listeners there. But again, that theme is common throughout, and I really hope everyone enjoys this conversation. I certainly did.
If you're a lawyer and you're advertising, this is absolutely the episode. You can pull out a notepad and take some notes. There's some good stuff. So enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another LAWsome episode. I'm your host, Tanner Jones, along with my co-host, Matt Smyers. Today's episode, we're talking with Darryl Isaacs. We're going to be talking about smashing expectations and how the Hammer built a successful law practice that hits hard. So welcome, Darryl. Been very excited to have this conversation with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We always like to dive into the history. We were talking in the pre-show discussion that I actually spent some time in Kentucky, have really over a decade of living there, and you cannot live in Kentucky or even Indiana without seeing Darryl's face on television. Darryl, you have had an extraordinary history of advertising. I would consider you one of the early starters in the marketplace, especially with TV, and really building a brand and
Yeah.
doubling down on a unique standout brand that really gets attention. There's no question about it. So let's start with maybe that history. I'd love to hear like what started the Hammer concept, what drove that, and maybe speak to some of the early challenges that you went through.
Okay. Well, first, I got to say, when you say everybody, you can't go without seeing me, they might not want to see me. So, um, I was, I grew up, had a great father, very hard worker. And when we were little, we basically had to work, deliver papers, did everything when I was younger. He provided the necessities, the luxuries we had to work for it. So I learned early on I was going to be an entrepreneur. My father was a lawyer, and actually I have three brothers, and two of them are lawyers. And but I guess what really got me started was I watched at some point my grandfather had a jewelry store and in Frankfort, Kentucky. Since you're from Kentucky, and he had a jewelry store for 67 years, and we ultimately I ended up closing it up. He got kind of dementia, but I would sit in the jewelry business back then, and it's changed now with the internet. I would look at the door, and between November and December, we did about 80% of our business. He never advertised, so I would just spend all day looking, waiting for a customer. And all day I kept saying, if I ever do any business, I'm going to advertise, because I didn't want to do the jewelry business. So when I went to law school and ultimately came out, I was blessed. My father said, hey, go work for someone and get kind of a flavor for it. So I was lucky enough to work for an attorney that he tried a lot of cases, and I worked for him for 4 years, and I actually sat through like 20 plus trials. but he also let me. I always had the ability to get cases. Um, I do it with my vulnerability. You know, I'm one of the few people. We all have egos, but I never think I'm the smartest guy in the room. If anything, I think everybody's smarter than me. So I'm always learning, and I surround myself with people smarter than me, which maybe that makes me smarter. But um, I got about 300 cases for him while I clerked for him while I was in law school. So I knew when I came out, and he did a lot of criminal law, and I didn't want to do criminal law, but I just knew early on I want to have my own thing. And um, my grades were terrible. I flunked the bar twice. I took the entrance exam three times to get in, and actually, if we're being honest, it took me 9 years to get a 7 year degree because I took 5 years for a 4 year degree and 4 years for a 3 year law degree.
Mhm.
But none of that mattered because all that mattered is how hard I was going to work. And early on, I just started branding myself. My father was actually, when I did finally come out, he was semi-retired, so I kind of brought him in with me. But from day one, I've always marketed in some capacity. Um, so I mean, that's kind of an overall quick glimpse, and I can get more specific. I don't want to bore the audience, but um, I just knew from day one we all are ambassadors for our business, and so everywhere I go, the world. I mean, I travel. Everyone's a potential customer. I mean, I can go in any state and get customers. I mean, and everyone can do what I do. Um, I just don't know if people look at it that way.
Darryl, we often talk to our audience about the importance of storytelling for lawyers, right?
Awesome.
Trying to convey that message of who you are, what you represent. As we all know, people hire lawyers; they don't hire law firms, right? And
Right.
storytelling and in your case, entertainment is
Yep.
such a huge part of what you do with your advertising, your video, your television. Can you talk a little bit about that and where does that come from?
Well, oh my God, you hit the magic word. I mean, storytelling. That's what I'm going to do. Every summer now I go out with Jerry Spence, and the first time we did 3 weeks. This time it's like 8 days. We perfect our storytelling. That's because think about it. Everyone, whether you're a lawyer, you're always telling a story. If you think about it, just like for you two, I mean, at some point you all probably went to college. You picked a spouse. I mean, I know you still have kids. You're always telling a story about yourself to have people want to be with you, interact with you. And so we lawyers, I've said that from day one because the attorney that I tried cases with when I was still in law school, he told a great story and he won a lot of cases because he told a better story than the opposing counsel. So I think storytelling is so important for so many ways, um, but I don't think attorneys utilize it enough. You know, there's a difference. A lot of attorneys want to go pound their chest and say they're great, they're great, they're great, and they want to talk about their accomplishments. But do you really think if you're the potential client, or I call them customers, if I'm wanting to get a customer, am I going to go and say, hey, I'm Darryl Isaacs, and by God, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this? That's not what they want. I was meeting with a case I'm going to try in December, and person's got brain damage. Meeting with a family, and I mean, probably the first 10 minutes. I mean, I meet with them once a month but the first 10 minutes, I'm telling them every mistake our firm has made up to this point, but we're correcting, we're fixing it. And yesterday, the mom finally said, "Why do you tell me everything you've done wrong?" And I said, "Because when I go to a jury, they know everything about how scared I am, how nervous, how I wish I was a better lawyer, because people they resonate with people that are humble, that are humility. And that's why even my advertisements, I mean, I don't mean this in an arrogant way, but I can connect with anybody anywhere, whether they're rich, poor, black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. We all bleed red on the inside, but I love people and I put others first. But I think the more credible and honest and the more I tell my story, which, listen, y'all, I probably failed more than anybody in America. Now I've had a lot of success. And when I go places and I tell people I've done this and that, and they're like, well, look at you now. I mean, I'm still learning, I'm still struggling, but every day I'm trying to perfect my storytelling. And that's what I think attorneys really need to take away from. Nobody cares if you're top in your class. In fact, it's funny. I don't. I'll know in 1 minute if I'm going to hire someone or not. Because can they connect? You know, will they tell a good story? If their story is all about them, it won't work. If the story is about others, it will work.
These videos, I'm sure the television, the video, all of it keeps you busy. What does your production schedule look like?
Well, it's never good enough for my marketing team because no matter what I do, you need to do this video, you need to do that video. It's crazy. What I started doing is I put a studio in my house, which I don't know how to operate, so I got to get a kid or someone to come over, or you know. But at my office, so in Louisville, Kentucky, we have two different. We keep our we trial. The litigation department is at one location and the non-lit's at another. So I have studios at both. So wherever I'm at, if I need to go jump on a podcast or do a video, but usually what I do about once every other week, I'll go and listen. I've done over 1,000 of them, so it is easy for me. But I don't script them. I just go whatever I'm feeling. I got to have the passion, but I might on any given day, I might go shoot 30, 40 videos. I'll just knock them out in an hour or two.
I'm real curious, Darryl. I mean, I mentioned I've seen you for years on television, and much like most people in Kentucky and Indiana, and TV is arguably a very different platform. It's a very different environment.
Right.
You have generally 30 seconds to get a high impact message across. I've known you to bring a lot of really, I would say, entertainment. You really bring fun into somewhat of a very difficult, very challenging situation for people, and you found a way to uniquely connect with the
Yeah.
marketplace. I'm
Right.
curious because you were somewhat born out of the TV advertising era, if you will, and you've evolved that into digital, where there are a lot of different places to apply video, both long form content, but even short form for social media. I'm curious to hear, how has that been a bit of a challenge for you to kind of pivot, not away from TV, but expand into digital? What does that look like for you?
Well, gosh, your question, you almost gave the answer. It's so for me early on, TV reached the biggest audience, it masses, and then radio, and early days, I was on like 40 back covers, but TV, 3 years ago, 90% of our budget was TV. We're getting ready to do our 2026. It won't be 20% because social media has taken over. Um, so, but it's funny. I had 15 law firms at my place in Florida last month. I still teach other firms sometimes. I'm doing it less and less because of my trials calendar. But I tell everybody, even today, I think TV's how I built a brand. It's going to reach everybody, but social media now, the internet has just, it's leveled the playing field because, I got 150 people. You could have one attorney on the internet could blow up and he's competing. So it's different, but I still think you need all the above. But like, when I go into a new market, I won't go on TV in a new market because I don't need to now because we figured out the social media. Now we don't have it. We're not perfect. Um, and we're constantly changing. But for me, I tell everybody, so Jerry Spence said this in a book I read 30 years ago. The most powerful person in the room is the most vulnerable. So if I'm asking you to, you've interviewed probably hundreds, maybe 1,000 attorneys. When you've seen any attorneys commercials, what percent would you think would either be in front of law books or in front of a courthouse or something legally related? I mean, is it a high or low percent? I've always said I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, I'm up and down. I was always overweight. I'm on a fitness journey now. I've lost a ton of weight, but I will humiliate myself to help others. I will put myself out there. But I tell everybody that'll listen, if you're going to go on TV, or you're going to do even social media, don't go in front of a bunch of law books. I mean, first of all,
Hmm.
I mean, the public kind of knows if you went to law school, you had to read some law. So that's not going to gain you advantage. But like in my market, one market, there's probably over 40 lawyers on TV. I have high brand awareness because I've been doing it. But everybody knows, you're not going to see me in. Now, I've done a few where I'm in front of our, we built a $2 million courtroom so I can practice at one of our locations. But most time, I'm not going to go in front of law books or in front of a courthouse. I want to go. I started this fitness campaign, and my executive assistant says, I don't see this. I don't know why people find me interesting. I look at me like I'm this dinosaur, yada yada. But she's like, okay, when you go for a walk, record yourself. I'm like, who cares? And she goes, just do it. So, all right, one day I go, I'm doing this 100-day challenge. Well, I grab my wife's sunglasses, thinking it's mine because I'm half blind. So I got women's sunglasses, and I'm walking. And in Kentucky, I mean, I keep getting that's a wife beater shirt. I wear tank tops a lot. So I do this video, for about 20 seconds, and she posts it. And my good friend, he's an influencer. He's got like 20 million followers. He literally calls me, pull that video, man. He goes, it's terrible, yada yada. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because she didn't post it right away. I always have her post a day or two later because a lot of times I'll do it, people will come find me. And I'm like, sometimes I want to walk, it's my I need downtime. So, and this guy one day, he had done a different type of video, and it had like 10 views. But anyway, this video I did ended up getting like 150,000 views. So I call him back. I'm like, I go, yeah, they're women's glasses, and you got this wife beater shirt. I'm like, Steve, your video got 10 views, and you're telling me. So people resonated because it was raw, it was emotion, it was authentic, I was vulnerable. And I never, like, if I try in a case and I start crying, I never apologize for crying. Human emotion, that's the most powerful thing you can get. And that's what resonates with people. And that's why I think our videos are different. Now, there's some attorneys who do much better than me. Um, but I just think for me, the videos, the more I can stand out, not be like everybody else. And I want to create a brand where people follow me, not my you all were very young, but do you remember probably one of the last few years at the phone books? Remember they used to distribute them?
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, I was on all the back covers, and then when they kind of quit doing it, I'll never forget though. The yellow pages, everybody would fight to be in the front, the double trucks and everything. I would only be on a phone book if I'm on the front or back cover. I mean, I was on about 40, but I never wanted to be inside. And the reason is I don't want people going inside and looking at 100 of my competitors
Hmm.
because I guarantee you they're all better looking than me, they're thinner than me, they're all kinds. I want to get you before you go in, and I want to grab you on the back cover, the front cover. And I think one of my first $1 million cases, 100 years ago, literally was from the back cover. So
Hmm.
I always want to do things different just because I want to stand out.
I
You
love it.
mentioned authenticity.
Yeah.
And so I think I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but I'd love to hear your take. So you've built an incredibly strong brand persona, the Hammer, right? How do you balance that larger than life image with just being yourself on an everyday basis?
Oh, it is hard. Look, thank you for the compliment. I don't see myself as this larger in life. Um, I'm still Daryl, the same. I grew up in Heights Point, Kentucky. I don't think I really realized it until Jack Harlow wrote a song about me. I didn't know who he was, honestly, but where our, where my courtroom is, my one office I've had since '93, and he would go in the alleys about 100 yards away, and anyway, one day my son called me and said, "Hey, someone wrote a song. It's got you heavy hitter. And they mentioned your name, Darryl Isaacs. Did you authorize that, or you get royalties?" And I was laughing. I'm like, wait a minute. Royalties. I mean, we're from Kentucky, Lee. If anybody makes it in Kentucky, we need to support him. So I was ecstatic. I didn't know who he was. And I found out. And then my marketing director, she reached out to him and then I actually went on stage for him when he did the song, I think in 2019. And there was like maybe 100 people there. But I was impressed with his tenacity. And, he was really good. But I think I know I was able to get my one of those pages and all that. I know people link, me to Jack Harlow, but that kind of made it challenging for me. Now, Jack can't go anywhere, and we're friends, and he can't go without bodyguards. I I want to go with that bodyguards. I mean, I will go to Target. I go places. I get stopped. I take pictures. I'll sign autographs. But I want to be like everybody else. And I'll
Yeah.
go to Target. I'll go in my jorts, as they call them. In Kentucky, blue jeans are slacks, but I love shorts. And if I'm not in a suit, I'll be in. But I don't want to be that. I want to be able to go and be who I am. And, I still walk around the neighborhood a lot of times and I get more crap from all my friends. Oh, you got to dress this way. I'm like, no, this is who I am. I grew up in Kentucky, man. I go barefoot half the time. I don't want to change who I am because that's who I am.
Well, and it goes back to your point about authenticity, right? And your example of shooting the video, right, with the tank top and your wife's sunglasses on, and you being comfortable because that's who you are. It's
Yeah.
that authenticity, and that's what resonates. And I think that's a really important message for our listeners because I think a lot of firms, a lot of lawyers feel like when they do advertising, shoot video, whatever it is, they have to be perfect,
Oh, yeah.
right? And
No.
they're
Right.
they're they're afraid to be human, and your message is the exact opposite of that, and it's been wildly successful.
Well, let me see if I can give you an example. Um, well, last night as I'm getting ready, my daughter's she graduated college and getting ready to go for a 3-year master's program, and they watch a lot of these reality shows. Have you seen some $1 million realtor show out in California? Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I've seen it.
It's got all these beautiful. I mean, everybody in California is gorgeous. I mean, but I'm getting ready to go out there, and some of the attorneys I'm going to meet with. I mean, they all look like GQ models, but there's all these beautiful women, and there's these two brothers that I guess own the realting thing. Well, there's actually what piqued my interest was there's a lady that was homeless from Kentucky that's on the show. And last night I wasn't paying attention, but out of the blue, they're getting them around. You know how those reality shows work. They stir up drama. Everybody started arguing, and the one lady, the homeless lady, and she's gorgeous, started crying. And then everybody got into it, and I got ready to leave the room, and I said, let me test your all's knowledge. Who's the most powerful person in that room? And of course, everybody in here, they're talking about, this popular latest pop. I said, you all missed it. That person that cried is going to be the most popular person in the room. And it's because she's the most vulnerable. I'm going to give you another example. David Letterman, in his peak, you remember when he had an affair?
Yep.
Do you remember how he did something and the next day the whole world forgave him and you never even talk about it? Do you remember what he did?
Mm.
So think of Bill Clinton, how he denied, 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 denied,
Hmm.
denied. And I think of Rick Pitino, who's a phenomenal coach. And, everybody denies. What if you just admit you did it, say you're sorry? But Letterman went on TV in his monologue. Um, I'll never forget this. I watched it. He got up there. He was genuinely sorry, told the audience. Then he apologized to his family who he hurt. Then he apologized to his staff. Then he started saying, one of his friends called and said, who would even sleep with me anyway? And before you knew it, he was poking fun. He was real. He was authentic. By the end of his monologue, the whole world forgave him. His show, he didn't get canceled. I've never seen anything like it. And so my whole point is he was vulnerable. He was authentic. He was real and he wasn't defensive. And we are a very forgiving society, you know? So it proves my point. I forgave him. I mean, hell, I'm a firm believer. I don't judge anybody because God knows when I was a kid, and even I've done so many stupid things and bad things that we're not perfect, but I think to be a better lawyer, and I always when I talk, because everybody say, "How do you get cases? How do you get cases?" I just think we lawyers have to be ourselves. We're very unique. We're very special. There's never anyone like us. When I say special, I don't mean I'm special. What I mean is God created us. None of us have the same DNA except twins. So there is no one else out there that's going to be like you, Matt, or you, Tanner. So instead of trying to be like everyone else, why not be the best version of yourself you can be, and then you can change the world.
Darryl, it's great advice. I mean, there have been several uh, golden marketing tips here. Hopefully, our listeners are taking notes, because that's the heart of marketing: authenticity, being
Yeah.
yourself, showcasing vulnerability. And I appreciate you being willing to share that. Most people, it's so fascinating. Matt and I speak with a lot of very, very successful lawyers, marketing lawyers, trial lawyers, and everything in between. And the world often sees this, overnight success. But it's so obvious to us after all these conversations. There's a work ethic, obviously, that's
Right.
involved in that as well, and you've hit on that. But I'd like to maybe turn the corner a little bit, take it a different direction, because I'm fascinated in what you have accomplished within your practice. There's a perception in the legal profession, from what I've observed, that you cannot be both a great advertiser and a great trial lawyer. And I think that, there's several arguments to both sides, but I'm curious to hear, how would you respond to that concept?
You can. It's rare. And my good friend Andrew Finkelstein, he's phenomenal. He can go get a $50 million verdict, and they were paperless in the '90s, which is just freakish beyond freakish. I mean, um, it's very rare, and that's why I used to teach all these mastermind groups. I either got trial lawyers or I got mark or TV attorneys. I would tell the TV attorneys, you want to take your practice to the next level, go learn trial skills, because AI is never going to replace a trial lawyer. That's why every day I'm trying to get better and better and better. Um, but you can do both. It's just hard. And so what happens is people usually make a choice. I have so many people say, I want to be like you. They want to build this business, and then they don't want to try cases. And I'm like, you got to do both, because the insurance company will pay you more monies. And it's just rare, but it can be done. I mean, God knows I'm not great. Every day I'm trying to get better. I mean, again, I can, you know, yeah, we kind of got to figure out the marketing, and our litigation department's really done well. I mean, we've had some great verdicts, but I'm still wanting to get better and better and better. But I'm just afraid that the public, when I say the public, the lawyers just think they got to choose. Now, I am going to tell you, it is hard. Like, I have no desire to do criminal law, and where I go, I'm a part of there's probably 4 or 5 thousand graduates from the Jerry Spence, and a lot of people like to say they do both. My heart's not into criminal law. That's why I didn't do it with the attorney who I was offered a partnership when I left. I can't do it. So I can't do anything my heart's not into. My passion is helping people. I have a brain injury, so I do brain injury cases. I do wrongful death, and I do a lot of truck. But I'm just not into. So you mentioned such a phenomenal point. I think people could do both, but I work 16 hours a day, and not everybody wants to do that. Now, I don't sit there and work in a row, and I can work anywhere. And a lot of times I'm working, like I got to go out and get an hour walk, and I'm making calls, or I'm running in my courtroom practicing, an opening. But it is a lot of work. If you're going to do both, if you have your own law firm, it's not a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But it can be done. I just think it's hard, but I always use Andrew Finkelstein. He's incredible. He's done both. I'm trying to do both, but it can be done.
On the business side of the house, you've taken a different approach than many PI firms, and we are starting to see it more. But you have hired executive level leadership and structured your firm like a business. Not only that, you showcase those individuals on the website, which is unusual. You talk a little bit about that?
Well, Yeah. So listen, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I hired the wrong CEO a couple years ago. Um, Took me longer to recognize it, but you know, I love it. Everybody says national. I don't know what a national brand is. I mean, I travel a lot. I'm known in different states, but you know, I I can't do what I do unless I had a top. So like right now, the gentleman that's my COO, I got him from LA. He's one of the top in the country, and I was shocked he was going to come to Kentucky and do my. Um, but I couldn't do it without someone of that level. When I teach, it's from my mistakes. I've probably spent 150 million in advertising over the years. I've probably blown about 30% of that, where I've just made horrible decisions. So again, you learn from it. And so when I teach, like, you know, last time I spoke to a mass audience, it's probably been 2 or 3 months. I went up there and I said, everybody's sitting there, I don't know, there's a couple hundred people in the room. Said right away, I said, I'm different. I'm going to show you who wants to know how I made a $2 million mistake. So maybe you won't make the mistake. And then everybody's looking at me. I don't, I don't tell you how good I am. I'm telling you how I screwed up. I teach you from all my mistakes but I learn from them. Um, but right now, I get over 500 cases a month that we want. I have to have someone that can put it all together, and it starts with my executive. I got an executive team, but I can't do what I'm doing if I don't have the right people. But a lot of times, and I get asked this all the time, people just hire to be hired. You really, I had to sit down and say, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? How many states do I want to practice in? So I had to get somebody that knows how. And the gentleman I got, he came from another law firm where they got 1,000 cases a month. So I knew he knew what he was doing. But the other thing is, like I say, when I interview somebody, I don't go through all the mundane crap. What I want to know, you know, I basically said, you know, how could you promote me? And then when I heard him, just like, I think we're getting ready to hire a national PR firm to do some more promotion. God, we've been interviewing someone for 2 years, and we finally got someone, and everything they want to do is on my vulnerability. That it's all about my vulnerability, where everybody else wants to make you look like everyone else. I was looking at, I'm going to LA, and I looked up one of the national ad agencies. He lists all his clients. Well, that doesn't impress me. Now it means I'm going to be like every other cookie cutter. But this gentleman that we met with, in fact, that's one of the reasons I'm going out. I'm going to meet. All he talked about is my vulnerability, and I thought this is somebody that gets me. Because listen, you're not going to be able to promote me as a GQ model. You're not going to promote me as the smartest tool in the shed. And I got to go with my strengths, and my strengths is just being myself.
A little bit deeper on the executive leadership topic, because I know this is important to our listeners, especially smaller firms that are in growth mode. Is there a tipping point for a firm when they need to start hiring those folks, or alternatively, is there a position you would recommend hiring first? Is it an in-house marketing director? Is it a CFO? Is it a COO? What's your take on that?
I've been blessed. I've helped over 1,000 lawyers, but I've helped over 100 law firms grow. One of them up to about 800 people. You want to grow. If you're by yourself, the first, and I tell everybody, hire a marketing director, and I'll tell you why. So many companies, if you're that started, if I'm by myself, I can't do it all, and everybody wants your time. You need a deflector and a marketing director, even if he or she doesn't have a lot of experience. You need someone that everybody goes through that person, and that person will filter out, like if you need a web host, SEO company, whatever. You can't grow without a marketing director. And then the second hire should be an office manager slash CEO, somebody that. So I'm a visionary. I mean, you all are visionaries too. You're creating a product, and so you want the world to know what it is. Well, guess what? You've got to tell the world. It's like Zig Ziglar said it best. I can get anything in this world if I help enough people get what they want.
Hmm.
So every day, I help everyone, and then it comes back 100,000 fold. But you want to grow your law firm, hire a marketing director first, and then you need someone that can manage it all, and then it will grow from there.
So,
Appreciate
Darryl,
that, man.
as we land the plane here and wrap things up, what can the world expect to see next from Isaac and Isaacs?
Here's my problem, y'all. I will share and help the world, but what I've found the last 2, 3 years is like I tell everybody what I'm doing, and then they end up doing it better than me. Like I get example 3 years ago, I started studying truck wrecks, and maybe 4 years ago, I literally got 10 a year. And I thought, okay, how do you get something in life? Well, laws of attraction. You write down goals. This is what I want. I sit down every year. I want this, I want that, I want this and that. So I started focusing on truck cases. And before I knew it, in about a year and a half, I'm getting 50 a month. Well, guess what? Everybody's copying me. And then they're doing it better than me. So we went backwards. And that's it. I had the wrong leadership and everything. So then I put something new. And you know, I get over 80 truck cases a month that I want. That they're not, some are catastrophic, some might be, soft tissue. Um, or we started going big in premise because it's so easy to get,
Mm.
but we only want a case if we verify a million in coverage. So we're getting 100 a month of those. You just this is what I want, this is what I do. So I'm always willing to share, but I feel like I got to perfect it first because everybody copies. There's so like, you look at the Morgans of the world, and there's so many national firms, so many firms just killing it, doing well. But what I've found is I just got my little unique niche, so to speak. And I think if I can do it, the underdog, I imagine you have a lot of your attorneys are small practitioners, one or two. Those are the ones that can really do well if they just find their unique place. But I was just say we've got, we're just going more on a national level, I guess. From all the videos, we keep getting these cases in other states, and I'm thinking, well, I guess we're gonna, maybe start doing a little of that. But I
Hmm.
never want to lose my Kentucky flavor, so to speak. I'm always like, the Kentucky Hammer, and everybody calls me the Hammer. And it's interesting. I'll say this too. I had one thing that every attorney needs to do. You need to trademark and copyright everything you do. So like domain, like, I copyright We Win. So I can use We Win all over the country. I get trademarks on everything I do. And early on, I did Kentucky Hammer. And Jim Adler, he's a friend of mine now, but he was the Texas Hammer.
Mm.
He tried to get the Hammer. And next thing you know, they told him no because I had it. So he calls me like 20 years ago, whatever. So we agreed to, I agreed to let him. So it's funny. He'll tell people, yeah, Darryl got me this. I help everyone, but every attorney needs to trademark like domains, even if you don't advertise on TV, whatever you do. Like I tell everybody, our search engine, you could now, it's insane how many visits we get. But again, everything we do, I've probably got hundreds of copyright trademarks on everything I've done. So you need to keep protecting your brand, and you don't have to go on TV to do this. So
Hmm.
guess what I'm saying is I've had the same trademark lawyer for over 30 years. It's funny, I was talking to him Sunday because he knows I work 7 days a week, and sometimes I get this idea. I'm like, can I do this? Can I do that? But he was telling me, he said, Daryl, I'm 71. I'm like, so what are you saying? You got another 20 years and you quit your bitching, because it's funny. It's just if you, everybody can do what I do. You just have to really, not that you have to work 100 hours a week, but every day you get up, when you leave your door, everyone you come in contact to is a potential client, potential customer, put others first. And you all can, there's so many people achieving greater things than me. So,
Darryl, this has been such a fascinating conversation, my friend. I'm grateful for you sharing your
well,
wisdom
thank
with
you.
our listeners. Thank you for the time. Do you have any final thoughts or any closing remarks for our listeners as we wrap up?
I'll give you the 30-second. I'll give it to you for free. It's funny. I've had people pay me a ton of money, and I go to seminars and I tell them the first minute, this is what I do. That if you hear nothing, literally, if you want to get ahead, don't be selfish. Put others first. When you serve others, like we serve the client, but every day, and I try to get my staff to do it, and sometimes they comply and sometimes they don't. When you put others first, it just promotes you. You know, when you think of me, that's where you get in trouble, and that's where you get your ego and everything. But no, I just I wish I could go to speak to every single one and say, look, if you saw where I was and how many times I failed, promise you, you can do it if I can do it.
Thank you, Darryl. For our listeners, if you want to get to know Darryl and his firm a little bit further, go to wewin.com. You can check out his video content, his website, and all the work that he's produced for the
I'll give you
years.
one step further. I give everybody my cell. I've done it for 100 years. If you want to post it, I got an easy cell. It's 502-817-1000. So I give that to everybody. They text me. I'm better at text. I'm terrible at email. But a lot of times, I mean, I'll try to give free advice. I mean, that's how we help others. We got a great profession. We really do. We can make ridiculous amounts of money. We can help so many people, but we shouldn't fight each other. We should help each other. And that's what I always try to tell all the attorneys. Like, let's band together, not, butt heads.
Thanks again, Darryl.
Thank you.